Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank our witnesses for joining us today. Ms. Selberg-Robinson, I want to start with you. Can you give us your perspective on what has happened with the Chesapeake Bay in the past 2 decades as far as restoration efforts, where we are today with our resources such as oysters, and also where we are with water quality? And can you talk about the role that the Chesapeake Bay Program Office plays as far as coordinating the efforts of each state, and obviously the requirements under Federal Clean Water Act like TMDLs, where everybody has to look at what they're doing to improve water quality?
To meeting that goal. And the scale of this work is really unprecedented. As you've heard this morning, that this is become the world's largest oyster restoration project in the world. And it has resulted in more than 1,400 acres of healthy, restored reefs. So how do we know that they're healthy? We know that they're healthy because we monitor them. So we're looking for key things like density and biomass to make sure that they're a functioning reef. And a functioning reef really contributes to both the ecology and the economy of the Chesapeake Bay. So we're really pleased with the progress we're making with oyster restoration and the role that it plays to support our commercial and recreational fisheries like blue crab in each state. We lead work groups that bring all of the states together and our NGO partners to have important conversations about fisheries research, oyster restoration. Our office does not have a lead role in the TMDL effort. That is led by our colleagues over at the EPA.
Thank you, Ms. Selberg-Robinson. Dr. Colden, I want to get your perspective on oyster restoration, how you see it. Obviously, the overall numbers are very impressive, but if you could give us a little drill down on what that has involved. In other words, when you have reef restoration, is it a combination of aquaculture? Is it a combination of private interest on the bay that do spat-on shell culture, all of those different things? Can you give us an overall view about how that is unfolded?
Absolutely, and thank you for the question. So oyster restoration that NCBO leads is a tremendous effort that involves states as well as local nonprofits, private and public oyster hatcheries, which are producing the oyster larvae necessary for these projects, as well as supporting local watermen who are participating in placing spat-on shell, who are participating in the restoration activities themselves. More recently as well, oyster aquaculture was approved as a best management practice for reducing nitrogen, and oyster restoration has been approved as of last week. So not only are these industries contributing to the recovery of oyster populations, they're also helping us achieve our pollution reduction goals through bioextraction, through harvest, and enhanced denitrification, which removes excess nitrogen from the water.
Can you give us a perspective, too, on you talked a little bit about the role that the oysters play as filter feeders. Can you give us a little perspective on what they do in taking food that is algae out that can, an overpopulation, create some problems for the bay, but also what they do in removing sediment? We know there's a function that they remove sediment that's not food and are able to take that out of the water column.
Yes, absolutely. So they also improve the water's clarity. So as sediment enters the Chesapeake Bay, it clouds the water, making it difficult for things like underwater grasses to thrive. By filtering out that sediment and packaging up into small packages, it makes it sink to the bay bottom faster, making the water clearer and allowing those other habitats like underwater grasses, which are incredibly important for things like blue crabs, allowing that water clarity to improve, allow the sunlight to reach down to the bottom, and improve the overall water clarity conditions.
So large-scale oyster restoration is really Mother Nature's filter and taking a lot of stuff out of the bay that otherwise would take years and years to do, they can do it in days?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.